Can you give my constituent in Harlow that this government will tackle the issue that we've inherited?
Yeah, I totally agree with what we're dealing with today. When we think about hotel use across the country, we think about our pivot to military sites. The original sin for all of that was the choice of the previous government simply to stop assessing applications. We're, of course, reversing that, but it's taking time to turn around their failure.
Yep.
Mr. Speaker.
Secretary of State.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will later today be showing the full details of my plans for far-reaching reforms to the UK asylum system to restore order and control to our borders. We have learned the lessons from our international partners, including Denmark, where fundamental reform to their system has seen asylum claims at a 40-year low. The impact of this government's plans will be to restore order and control to the border so we can be the open, tolerant and generous country that we know ourselves to be.
Nadia Whitson.
The Denmark-style policies briefed in the last couple of days are dystopian. It's shameful that a Labour government is ripping up the rights and protections of people who have endured unimaginable trauma. Is this how we'd want to be treated if we were fleeing for our lives? Of course not. So how can we be adopting such obviously cruel policies? Is the Home Secretary proud that the government has sunk to such depths that it's now being praised by Tommy Robinson?
Well, Mr. Speaker, look, I'm disappointed at the nature of the question from my honourable friend. I hope she will look at the detail of the reforms. And what I've said already on these matters is that we have a proper problem that it is our moral duty to fix. Our asylum system is broken. The breaking of that asylum system is causing huge division across our whole country. It is a moral mission for me to resolve that division across our country. I know that the reforms I will be setting out later on today can fix this system and in doing so can unite what is today a divided country.
The Home Secretary likes to talk tough whilst the numbers continue to rise. So as part of that statement that she's going to bring to the House, can she confirm that detailed modelling will be published and whether she has shared that modelling with Number 10?
Well, the honourable gentleman's question would have had a bit more force if he had apologised for being part of a government that fundamentally broke our migration system and presided over the crisis inherited by this government. Of course we will model the impact of our policies. This is a sweeping set of reforms, the most significant in modern times. They will bring down the number of arrivals, increase the number of removals of those who have no right to be in this country. We will build on our track record in government that has seen removals be increased, and the totality of these reforms, I believe, will unlock the generosity of this country in creating new safe and legal routes which will grow more generous over time.
Chris Phillips, Shadow Home Secretary.
Well, it's good to see the Home Secretary here taking some time off from her leadership campaign. She is quite clearly preparing. She's quite clearly preparing a one-in, one-out policy for Number 10 Downing Street. Now, the Home Secretary has announced she wants to replace the government's entire immigration policy with Denmark's. Is that because the government has failed so badly in the year and a half since the election? Because since the election, illegal channel crossings have surged 55%, up to 62,000. New asylum claims have reached a record ever. And the numbers in asylum hotels have actually gone up under this government. And in just the 75 days since she became Home Secretary, 10,000 illegal immigrants have crossed the English Channel. But the Home Secretary...
Oh, sorry. You've got to at least try and get to a question in relative time. Don't forget we're having a big debate shortly on it, Chris Phillips.
OK, I'll ask a question. Will she agree with us that to control our borders, we must come out of the ECHR, enabling us to deport all illegal immigrants within a week of arrival?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think we can all agree that the honourable gentleman's leadership campaign is going absolutely nowhere. Let me tell him once again, his party reverts to an unworkable solution, a total gimmick, just like their failed Rwanda plan, £700 million spent and a total of 4 volunteers returned. Always from the party opposite, gimmicks and solutions that would never ever work. What you get from this government is a track record of an increase in removals based on what we inherited from that government and a proper plan that will fix this broken system.
Chris Phillips.
Well, unlike her leader, our leader is not going anywhere. Our leader's not going anywhere, but hers most certainly is. She talks about out of number 10. She talks about the Rwanda scheme. That Rwanda scheme never even started. It worked in Australia. It would have worked here. And after they cancelled it with no replacement, numbers have surged. The truth is that under this government, illegal immigration has gone up. There is a crime wave, including rape and murder, going with it. Her ideas are not radical enough. She wants to give illegal immigrants a 20-year path to citizenship.
Order, please. I'm not being funny. The idea is to ask a question. Statements will be coming later. We're going to go through all this. Really doesn't help. If you want to pick which colleagues you don't want from your side to ask a question, because that's what you're taking the time off. Please, Shadow Home Secretary.
She wants to give illegal immigrants a 20-year path to citizenship. We want to deport them. Will she accept our proposal to come out of the ECHR so we can actually control our borders?
Well, I'm sure all of his members will be delighted that the Leader of the Opposition is going absolutely nowhere. We're very happy to see her remain in place, Mr. Speaker. This government will not come out of the European Convention on Human Rights. What we are going to do is reform the way that Article 8 in particular is applied to immigration rules within our country. That is because this government rolls up its sleeves and does the actual hard work of governing, unlike his party, which just gave up altogether.
Max Wilkinson, Liberal Democrat, spokesperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the point of asylum policy, the Liberal Democrats recently defeated an attempt by the Honourable Member for Clacton, backed vociferously by the Conservatives, who he's trying to kill, to rip this country out of the ECHR. Metaphorically trying to kill. Leaving the ECHR would do nothing to halt small boat crossings, but it would deny British people hard-won rights. Free speech, the Hillsborough inquiry, and protections for older people. The government has announced it's reviewing certain articles of the ECHR. The Home Secretary's just referenced it. Can she give us a cast-iron guarantee that when she's working on these changes, she will do so in partnership with other signatories to the Convention, and she will not follow the Conservatives and Reform in seeking to isolate this country on the international stage?
Well, myself and the Prime Minister could not be clearer. We are not coming out of the European Convention on Human Rights. We are going to pursue reform, in particular of Article 8, which is a qualified right under the Convention, and I will set out the plans to do so later on today. And there is a conversation happening with our partners at the Council of Europe in relation to the application of Article 3. So there is a conversation that is already happening on reform of the European Convention, both here at home and the domestic legislation that we will pursue, but also at the Council of Europe itself. And that is the approach that this government will continue with.
Joyce Fenton.
Number 3, please, Mr. Speaker.
Start.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With your permission, I will group this response with questions 6 and 9. Tackling violence against women and girls is a top priority for this government, and our mission to halve violence against women and girls in a decade has begun. We will deliver a transformative cross-government approach underpinned by the new strategy, which we will publish soon.
Mr. Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ending the presumption of parental contact in the family courts was a huge and long overdue step, worked hard for by campaigners. That presumption allowed post-separation abuse to often continue. Now, while the MOJ is leading on that, can the Minister tell me what the Home Office is doing to make sure that we properly police and enforce other ways of tackling post-separation abuse so it can't continue?
I thank my honourable friend, and also I'd like to thank him and give special mention to him and the member for Penistone and Stockbridge, who worked so tirelessly since they arrived in this House, to join with some of us who have been trying to change the presumption of contact in domestic abuse cases for 11 years with no success from those opposite. I work very closely with the Victims Minister and the Minister for Courts, and we will be making sure that it is part of a package of security that is purely cross-government.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituent contacted me because she had been drugged and violently raped by a man that she knew, who she had worked for as a nanny for his children. She describes this man as a high net worth individual. Despite providing detailed evidence to the police, she says ultimately it came down to her word against his, and she feels his financial standing and his influence meant that her case never went to the CPS. The Minister will know very well that only less than 4% of rape allegations actually result in summons or charge. So, Mr. Speaker, at which point are we going to stop talking about how unfair the system is and actually do something that means that poor constituents like mine get the justice that they deserve?
I thank the Honourable Lady and would be happy to speak to her and her constituent about their particular case. It is one I have heard similarly with regard to high worth, high powerful rapists or alleged rapists. Look, undertaking a proper change to how our policing and our justice system works for rape victims, whether that's through Operation Soteria or other interventions such as the new policing centre for Vorg, to actually improve this across the country and not just see pockets of good practice, is a vitally important thing, and it is going to take time, but I am more than happy to work with her on this.
The St. Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the Minister for her reply. The Minister will be aware of the important role played by specialists by and for organisations in supporting victims from minority communities and bringing crucial cultural awareness to the table. Sikh Women's Aid recently held an all-women's meeting in which they focused on the trauma and fear generated by recent racially aggravated attacks in the West Midlands, including in my constituency. So can the Minister outline what steps the Home Office is taking to ensure that specialist community support services, including by and for organisations such as Sikh Women's Aid, are properly resourced so that victims from all backgrounds, and whether that be white working class girls or Sikh women and girls, can receive culturally sensitive support?
I thank my honourable friend, and we recognise the vital role of the specialist by and for services in providing tailored support to victims and survivors, and it has been my personal pleasure over many years to work alongside the brilliant women at Sikh Women's Aid who operate so furtively in our local area. I meet regularly with IMCAN, the umbrella lead for such by and for services, to seek solutions to exactly this problem of ensuring that there isn't a postcode lottery and that everybody can have specialist support.
Chair of the Select Committee, Dame Karen Bradley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm very much looking forward to the new Violence Against Women and Girls strategy, so I wonder whether the Minister could give a bit more of a clue as to when we might see it, and also will it include a single definition of violence against women and girls which is applied consistently across law enforcement and the Department?
I thank the Honourable Lady, and I very much look forward to coming to her committee at the publication of it, no doubt, to discuss that. It is not for the Home Office to tell law enforcement exactly what the definition is in these regards, and obviously there is a definition of domestic abuse, of sexual violence in the law, but we will lay out clearly what we mean by violence against women and girls, and police operational matters will be being corralled, like I say, by the new centre, which has had £13 million investment to make sure that there is a standardised practice across the country to ensure that we are all working to the same hymn sheet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The government is right to have abolished the role of Police and Crime Commissioner. Liberal Democrats have been campaigning for that for some time. But many victims' organisations rely on the PCC core grant to fund violence against women initiatives. So will the Minister confirm that cash will not be lost by those organisations, including mine in Eastbourne, and that they will retain it after this reform?
I absolutely can confirm that the part of the Police and Crime Commissioner's role of commissioning local victim services will be brought into new systems. It will not be that that money is gone from the centre, it is that how it will be given out. I can't say for certain that all organisations that currently have the money on the basis that they currently have it, because nobody could commit to that. That is the Commissioner's job, but we will be making sure that all victims commissioning, and look forward to the Violence Against Women and Girls strategy, because there will be a huge amount in that.
Sarah Dyke.
Mr. Speaker, my constituent Fiona from Melbourne Port is a victim of historical rape. With recent reporting highlighting the vile attitudes of some in regard to historical rape victims, Fiona told me her confidence in the judicial systems and the police have been well and truly knocked, as detectives tell her there is no starting point for their inquiries. So what steps is the Minister taking, along with Cabinet colleagues, to support historical victims of violence against women and girls?
I thank the Honourable Lady, and there is absolutely no reason why historical cases shouldn't be brought forward and reviewed, and as part of the work following on from the Casey review, certainly in cases of historical child sexual abuse, the opening of no further action cases has absolutely really been working at pace through Operation Beaconport. But more broadly, there are review systems, and I will send the information about the organisations that the Home Office works with, who work alongside the police to look into the very review systems that might be needed for people whose cases, like yours and like the one earlier, where they haven't been picked up.
Shadow Minister Katie Lamb.
Thank you. Mr Speaker, in March this year, the then Permanent Secretary of the Home Office said the strategy to tackle violence against women and girls would be published before summer recess. In July, the Minister committed to September. My honourable friend, the member for Rutland and Stamford, wrote to the Minister 6 weeks ago to ask for an update and is yet to receive a response. We would all like to see progress in halving violence against women and girls. But commenting on the delay, the Domestic Abuse Commissioner, Dame Nicole Jacobs, said, "I fail to see where the momentum within government is coming from to ensure this commitment succeeds." What does the Minister make of the Domestic Abuse Commissioner's words, and can she please reiterate her commitment to publish the strategy before the end of the year?
As somebody who meets with the Domestic Abuse Commissioner on a very, very regular basis, I can't say that I categorise that she would ever say that I didn't have the enthusiasm to make this work. But perhaps I am wrong, and I shall ask her what she meant by those comments. What I can absolutely say is that it will come. It will be out very soon, and what I would want to say is it will be out when it is the best it can be, but we don't need to wait for a piece of paper to start our action. So, I mean, Mr Speaker, I won't take up too much time by the list of about 13 things that we have already changed in the last 18 months, such as Raneem's Law, such as a DAPO rollout, which for 4 years waited.
Thank you. Helen Morgan.
Number 4, please, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
The government is increasing resources in neighbourhood policing teams and putting in place stronger measures to prevent farm theft and fly tipping. We're working closely with the NPCC to deliver their rural and wildlife crime strategy, which will be published imminently and will be a joined-up approach ensuring we're tackling crimes which have devastating consequences for our rural communities.
Morgan.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I thank the Minister for her answer, and there's no doubt that my constituents are concerned by crimes like equipment theft and wildlife crime, but they're also really worried about drug dealing taking place in broad daylight, in parks in our villages and in country lanes. And I wonder if the Minister could highlight what the government's drug strategy is to stop our young people being targeted by organised criminals, and also how we improve community policing in rural places so that those criminals don't have the confidence to target our young people so willingly. Thank her for the question. In terms of community policing, of course, we're putting 3,000 extra community police in our neighbourhoods by next April, and there will be a named officer that people can contact. In terms of the wider drugs problem, she's absolutely right to highlight it, and this government is putting in place, has put in place since we came into power, a very successful County Lines programme, which is targeting the lines where people are forced, often exploited, to take drugs across the country. I'm very happy to talk to her about it more. I've seen it for myself in action in Merseyside and the impact that it's having, but she's right to highlight what is a very deep problem, and we are absolutely determined to tackle it.
Neil Duncan-Jordan.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. There were over 2,000 recorded wildlife crimes last year, but less than 50 resulted in convictions. I therefore welcome the government's commitment to consult on strengthening the Hunting Act. Can the Minister update the House on what discussions they've had with departmental colleagues to ensure effective enforcement of any forthcoming legislation? And will the Home Office consider making key wildlife offences, including fox hunting, notifiable crimes, so these crimes are recorded and prioritised by the police force?
Friend for his question, he's right to highlight these crimes and the need for us to prioritise in a way that it wasn't under the previous government. The strategy that is coming out, the NPCC strategy on rural and wildlife crime, will set operational and organisational policing priorities in respect to tackling these crimes, and it will be published imminently, and I'd love to, once it's been published, have a proper conversation with the honourable gentleman.
Minister Matt Vickers.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Rural crime and tool theft are out of control. Every 21 minutes, a tradesman's tools are stolen, and when a farmer or tradesman has their equipment stolen, it causes complete misery and costs them severely. Then all too often their means of work are sold in broad daylight at car boot sales. Will the government adopt our rural crime and tool theft plan to crack down on the sale of stolen goods and the misery being caused to so many farmers and tradesmen?
The honourable gentleman will know that we are committed to the implementation of the Equipment Theft Act and fully support the intentions. Indeed, it was brought forward by a member of his own party, and we support that, and we are working with colleagues across the policing landscape to make sure that we can do just that. But I won't take any lessons from the honourable gentleman who left crime in the state that it had no rural crime strategy, unlike this government, and whose record took our police away from our neighbourhoods. We will put them back.
Mohammed Yazid.
Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I'll group this question with question 20. As part of the Neighbourhood Policing Guarantee, we have made £200 million available to police forces this financial year to kickstart the journey towards delivering 13,000 additional neighbourhood policing personnel. By April 2026, there will be 3,000 more neighbourhood police across England and Wales, strengthening police visibility and neighbourhood policing to help to deter, prevent and respond to crime.
Mr. Speaker, I welcome the government decision to phase out police and crime commissioners with the savings reinvested into frontline policing. I also warmly welcome the recent grant for additional wardens to tackle antisocial behaviour hotspots. A partnership between the council, community groups and the police has reduced antisocial behaviour in Bedford Town Centre by nearly 15%. But much more still needs to be done. So what further reforms will the forthcoming white paper include to help Bedfordshire Police get more bobbies on the beat?
Can I thank my honourable friend for his question? I'm really pleased to see the progress that has been made, and I'd love to come and visit again, as I did with the Prime Minister in opposition, to see that progress in action. There are two aspects where we'll be making significant changes. One is through the Police and Crime Bill, where there are new powers for us to tackle antisocial behaviour in our town centres, respect orders being one example of that, and our wider police reform, which will look at the entire policing landscape in a way that the opposition completely failed to do, make it more efficient, more effective, and make sure our police are targeted where the public want them in our communities.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Recently, I visited Marlcross with local councillors and members of Litter Busters, a local voluntary group who do excellent work to clean up their area. But they really shouldn't have to. There is a real challenge with fly tipping in this area and other parts of Norwich. I welcome the pledge to increase neighbourhood police officers. Can the Minister assure me that they will have the powers and presence to be able to tackle fly tipping and advise on any other measures that could be taken to crack down on this, which blights so many neighbourhoods?
My honourable friend is absolutely right to raise this issue. It's an issue in my constituency, and I suspect in many across the country, and the scourge of fly tipping must be tackled. Through the Police and Crime Bill, we are putting in place new statutory enforcement guidance for local authorities in terms of what is to be expected by them in tackling antisocial behaviour. And I know that in DEFRA there is an ongoing piece of work, a review of the powers that local authorities and the police have to seize vehicles and crush them, indeed, when we have prolific offenders of this awful crime.
Louis French.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Over 5,000 people in Bexley have signed my petition to stop Mayor Khan closing the overnight counter at Bexley Heath Police Station. So can the Minister tell us, who is to blame for the £260 million of funding cuts now facing the Met Police? Is it the Labour government or the Labour Mayor of London?
Again, I'm not going to take any lessons from the honourable member in terms of their record on crime, where we saw shoplifting in the last 2 years of the Conservative government soar by 70% and street theft soar by 60% just in those last 2 years. The Mayor of London, of course, had a consultation, and that consultation has now concluded, and there are 7 fewer shop fronts that will be police officer counters that will be closing. He will save £7 million through that work. But I think it's important that we recognise the work of Sadiq Khan as the Mayor of London. The number of murders we heard recently is the lowest since records began.
Harriet Baldwin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And one of the things that neighbourhood policing can tackle very effectively is the way in which TikTok is being used to distribute vapes, spice-flavoured vapes to our young people. And I wondered if she could comment on that.
Very happy to have a conversation with the Honourable Lady about what her experience of that is. Of course, the use of illegal vapes and the sale of vapes to under 18-year-olds is prolific and is being used as a main source of income from serious organised criminals. I know the Met Police particularly have done a huge operation recently to try and target not just the people who are buying the goods, but the people who are responsible for the serious organised crimes that are driving it. But very happy to talk to her further.
Minister Matt Vickers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Labour's very own Police and Crime Commissioner for Durham, Joy Allen, has said that this government has consistently demonstrated its complete lack of understanding for policing and community safety. Does the Minister think that she said that because they've cut police numbers by 1,316 since they came to power, or because crime is surging, or because senior police officers are warning that this government is creating a funding crisis?
I would like to pay tribute to Joy Allen, who I know very well, who is a very good Police and Crime Commissioner, and I thank her for all the work that she has done. And I know that our announcement last week was a difficult one for Police and Crime Commissioners to hear, but we thank them for all the work that they do, and they will continue to do for the next 2 years. What do the public want? The public want police in our neighbourhoods fighting crime. Did the Conservatives deliver that? No, they did not. Neighbourhood policing was slashed. PCSOs were halved. And what the Conservatives failed to do is tackle the fundamental problems that are needed to reform our policing. It is the most unreformed part of our public services. We will make, and the Home Secretary will make, the tough decisions in the coming weeks that will put policing on the right footing for the future.
James Murdoch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The last government lost control of our borders, and the result was a ruinously expensive asylum system, using more than 400 hotels at a cost of nearly £9 million a day. We have acted to cut those costs, and now fewer than 200 hotels are in use. Our historic agreement with France is seeing small boat departures prevented, arrivals detained, and those with no right to be in the UK returned. And as the House knows, I will very shortly be making a longer statement setting out the additional steps to go further and faster in our asylum, in the reform of our asylum system.
James Murdoch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, according to a recent National Audit Office report, £15.3 billion will be spent over the next 10 years on asylum accommodation alone. That money will be spent on people, in some instances, who will commit violent and sexual crimes against the British popular people that will make our skin crawl. What do we say to our residents and our voters and our taxpayers who feel like we're spending money on people who want nothing for us but harm?
I would say to the honourable gentleman, he should wait for the statement later on today, because the assumptions made by the National Audit Office in their projections are based on the current policy environment, and the current policy environment is about to very significantly change.
Peter Lamb.
Number 8, Mr. Speaker.
Minister, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The UK Visas and Immigration make millions of decisions every year about who has permission to visit or stay in the UK, protecting our borders and delivering excellent customer service across the globe. Where customers require a refund, Mr. Speaker, officials in UK VI ensure they are made as swiftly as possible.
Peter Lamb.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I thank the Minister for his response? I have several residents who have been waiting almost a year for a refund from the Home Office. Given the dramatic improvements that we've seen in asylum application processing in the last year, can I trust the Minister to put that same zeal into ensuring that other Home Office processes work just as efficiently?
Thank the Honourable Member for his question. I'm aware of the, I think, 3 specific issues, and I reassure the member that we are looking at those and happy to talk offline in more detail.
Jim Shannon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the Minister for his answer. Minister, the costs for those who apply are significant and sometimes push them to the wall. Whenever it comes to government getting monies back from somebody who owes them, they're very zealous, as they should be. Can I just suggest that maybe for those they owe money to, let government be just as zealous on behalf of those people? Thank you.
Thank the Honourable Member for his question, and of course we will be just as zealous with all receiving their refunds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question number 10.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The National Inquiry into Group-Based Child Sexual Exploitation and Abuse will mirror the Casey audit and therefore cover England and Wales. That said, all parts of the UK must work together to protect children and bring perpetrators to justice. We have committed to sharing relevant findings with devolved administrations and are considering how the inquiry's work may interact with devolved responsibilities in Scotland, including cross-area trafficking concerns.
Last week, brave grooming gang survivor Fiona Goddard spoke of how she was trafficked to Scotland as a vulnerable teenager. As she rightly said, the idea that this issue stops at the border is insane. Despite clear evidence from victims about grooming gangs operating in Scotland, the SNP government in Edinburgh still refuses to hold an inquiry. So please, will the Minister listen to victims and campaigners and extend the national inquiry to Scotland so that we ensure that young girls and teenagers are not treated in this way again?
I thank the honourable gentleman, and others from a sedentary position are stating that the SNP government in Scotland have said something different. However, what I would say is that any information about people can be given into the inquiry if they have been, so in the example that he gave, that evidence can be given into the inquiry where people are trafficked out of the UK into Scotland. But police, justice, education, children's services and health are all devolved. And that is different to the system in England and Wales, where it's just policing and justice. So we have to make sure that we are working within frameworks where the recommendations can be fully taken, but we will work with all nations to make sure that the findings make things better in the future.
Mr.
Speaker.
Minister.
We are committed, Mr. Speaker, to delivering a stronger neighbourhood policing presence in communities across England and Wales. Every neighbourhood, including those in Redditch, now has named contactable officers dedicated to addressing issues facing their communities. West Mercia Police is using its share, the £200 million made available this financial year, to grow its neighbourhood team by 51 full-time equivalent neighbourhood officers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Minister for that answer and the extra £39 million given to West Mercia Police. But residents in Redditch have told me clearly that they want to be able to walk into their local police station and speak to an officer face to face. Does the Minister agree with me and the many hundreds of constituents who have already signed my petition that the new police station in Redditch should reinstate a public-facing front desk?
As my honourable friend will know, it's a matter for the Chief Constable as to how these resources are spent, but we're clear that visible policing is essential to restoring public confidence in police, and we have invested £30 million since we came to power in new IT systems to make it easier for the public also to report crime, and that's why we're ensuring everyone has a named contactable neighbourhood officer that they can call on.
Mike Wood.
Number 12, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. An arbitrary limit on legal migration would serve no one. As we've seen in the past, attempts to implement such caps have been unsuccessful. I remind the honourable member of 1 million in 1 year under the previous government, undercutting British workers. Instead, this government has set out a plan to reduce net migration by restoring control to the immigration system, reducing our reliance on overseas labour and investing in domestic skills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the Minister not recognise that an important step towards significantly reducing net migration would be to make it clear to all working in his department or handling migration that there is a number that everyone is working towards? And if that's the case, surely members of this House should be able to vote on that binding cap, as happens successfully in other countries like Australia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's always amusing to be lectured about immigration by the opposite party. There are more sophisticated ways to address the issue of high net migration. This government is doing that by tackling the underlying causes of over-reliance on migrant labour by employers, alongside raising the bar on who can come to the UK and targeted visa restrictions.
Alison Griffiths.
Number 13, please, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, as set out on multiple occasions in this House, no ministers, no special advisers played any role in the provision of evidence. The DPP has confirmed this publicly.
Alice Griffiths.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Our judicial system is rightly rigorous and independent, and that's why the government's handling of intelligence central to national security and passing it to prosecutors matters so much. So as the Minister responsible for our state threats framework and domestic security, can the Home Secretary tell us when she was first alerted to concerns that crucial evidence hadn't been passed to the CPS? And does she agree that the public deserves a full and frank account of how 2 alleged Chinese spies were able to walk free?
Well, Mr Speaker, what I can say to the Honourable Lady is that this was an independent decision by the CPS. We have repeatedly made clear that there was absolutely no political interference in the evidence provided. This government is extremely disappointed with the outcome in this case and remain concerned about the espionage threat posed to the UK, and we're working relentlessly to counter it.
Number 14, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Government remains steadfast in its support for Hong Kongers in the UK and remains fully committed to the BNO route. We will consult on the earned settlement scheme shortly and everyone will be welcome to participate.